Hi, my name is Jonelle, and ooh, this camera is clean today. This is also my golden year vlog where I talk about my 26th year of life and the highs, the lows, everything in between. And I just take you on this journey with me. I also call it my Yappy hour because I just yap for an hour. So if you're bored already, it's okay. It doesn't get any more fun than this. Um, Things about me: I like to sew, I like to garden. I run a relatively popular environmental arts nonprofit in Atlanta. It's called Scrap Atlanta, in case you haven't heard of it. It's a Creative for You center, also known as an art supply thrift store that also has upcycling workshops. And we collect classroom, party, and art supplies, save it from the landfill, and inspire people to make art with it. So, yeah, my life is about me trying to save the world one stitch at a time, and also doing that at the tender age of 26, even though it's like I've been thinking a lot about this gray hair that's been on. Actually, it's a clump of hairs, but I'm looking at it and it's like I started graying a year ago, and it's starting to become more noticeable. Like, usually at first it was really just the baby hair, and now it's like it looks like a little piece of lint. So maybe as I do this blog, you guys will see my other color grow out and you'll see my gray grow in, which I'm here for the journey. I'm excited. I'm like, bring on the grays. Maybe by the time I'm 30, I might have a cool little streak, or it really might just be like this patch right here until who knows when. So this is just a recap of my previous week, and nothing really exciting happened, except everything exciting happened. So what we did with Scrap Atlanta, we're opening a second space in Southwest Atlanta. If you're not familiar with the Atlanta arts and crafts scene, it is a totally artsy city, but the access to resources is devastating. So when I did research and found out there are no art supply stores south of I-20 in the perimeter, I said we need to change that. And I have been blessed to work with Create ATL to make that vision come true. If you're not familiar with Create ATL, they are a community. They don't want to call themselves an incubator, but they're space in Adair Park, which is like in a little armpit of Atlanta's I-20 and 75, 85, Southwest Quadrant, where social enterprises come together, and even nonprofits like Scrap Atlanta. One company that I'm excited to work with is called Wonder Grubs. They make protein from mealworms. And everyone's always like, oh, that sounds disgusting. But when you eat the cookies that they make with these mealworms, and you realize they have like 10 grams of protein in them, and they are so good, you will not say ill no more. Because I'm a believer in that. Like, I gave up pork when I graduated high school, but that, and I tried to give up red meat, but really I was like, you know what, I just, like, I kept eating hamburgers and stuff so that I could give up beef. But I have like a zeal for just trying new food and new meats. Like, I'm not above trying at least once. So in just my adulthood, I've had octopus, which is pretty good. Different types of jerkies. Like, I'll try both the animal meats and the fake meats. Like, I like jackfruit based fake meats. And what else have I had that was cool recently? I've had goat, lamb. You know, I used to have like a whole list of the cool things I've eaten, but I cannot remember. But if you guys have any suggestions in the Atlanta area, or just honestly anywhere in the Southeast, I am now like, I feel free about like road tripping and going places. So just drop some suggestions for cool things for me to try. I have yet to try deer. I've had, let me see, did I have rabbit? I had duck and frog. Yeah, and I had rabbit too. But I want to try it all. I even want to try hamsters, even though people are like, ew, they're cute. But I'm like, in another country, they're a delicacy, and when in that country, you should eat their delicacies. Just saying. Speaking of traveling other countries, well, I didn't go to another country, but this past weekend, I went to Chattanooga for a special event that I'm not allowed to talk about what that event was, even though I don't think that I am famous enough to um, blow anybody's cover. But the event was a celebration of some kind, and it was very good to see everybody come together to be considered for attending this event. I really love the city of Chattanooga. I like Tennessee in general. The politics, but this like the whole state has so much beautiful artwork there, and Fred and I got some moonshine. He had apple pie, milkshake moonshine, had white chocolate strawberry moonshine from Old Smoky. We thought it was all cool and fancy, and then we get back and someone tells us they sell that at the liquor store down the street in Atlanta, and we're like, well, at least we supported a Tennessee business, right? Right. But I am trying to plan another trip for later this year. I am trying to incorporate more travel and just getting away from work because it really helps me decompress. I don't even think about how hard I work until I've already like 99% burnt out, which burnout is very real. Very real. If you've never been burnt out before, which like how could you not? But it's like I can read an article about the symptoms of burnout and be like, I'm not experiencing that at all. And then somebody asks me the wrong thing, and now I'm flipping tables over. And then it's like, maybe you are experiencing burnout. And I'm getting to the point where, burnout is not healthy by any means. And enduring in burnout is even worse. And I was at the point where I thought that I could endure in burnout until some arbitrary day, and that day kept getting pushed back, and it didn't go well for me this year. Instead, I am taking the time to just, when I recognize I'm getting tired, to just step away. If I can go out of town, that's great. I sort of don't like people who go out of town a lot, because I'm like, you have this house, enjoy your house. But I also recognize that, sometimes your home is not the vacation that you think it is. Like, even though Fred and I were only gone for 2 days, it felt like, we just need to be out of the house for those 2 days. And then I come back today and I'm like, okay, now I'm feel more renewed and excited to clean up the house. Even though the background of this is a mess, the rest of the house is also a mess, but a better mess than it was. One thing about me that I'm learning about decluttering is just, it's a skill. Like, learning how to be a neat and organized and clean person is a skill, and every day is a chance to practice. I am a huge proponent of the Pomodoro method. I don't know if it works for everybody, but for me, something about setting that 20-minute timer to say, I'm going to clean this room or just work on this area, it helps me a lot. And also, like, I am into recycling a lot of things. And so sometimes I have to tell myself, I said, Jonelle, you're going to get this bag, and you're going to fill it with every plastic bottle in the house. You're going to get this bag, you're going to fill it with fabric to recycle. Like, just telling myself to go ahead and grab the things to be recycled, and then putting it all in my car to take it where it needs to be. Like, I mail off my fabric recycling until I run out of the mailers. I think I talked about the take back bag a while ago with 4 days. It was one of the recycling programs I do. I am blessed to be in a county that has drive-through recycling for everything else. So it's like I just put all these like cartons in my car, and then I just drive to the recycler and just dump, and I'm done. I wish it was door to door, but I tell myself, like, if I ever decide to leave it's scrap Lena. Like when I'm just gonna go and become the sustainability officer, recycling person of Clayton County, and advocate for better door-to-door recycling. But I actually really like that we have to drive to recycling because it's less contamination. Growing up in DeKalb County, I understand the vision of having door-to-door recycling, but it's so easy for it to get contaminated. I've done a lot of recycling education throughout my life, and some people still don't understand that plastic bags do not go with plastic bottles, and trying to explain like number ones and twos and threes are different, and plastic film needs to be, just take plastic film to Publix. Every Publix has recycling for a plastic film. But people are like, it should be easy. Yeah, recycling should be easy. All of this should be easy, but it's not. This weekend, I got into a discussion about who's responsible for saving the environment and being environmental stewards and everything. We always ask, is it the consumer or is it the company? Me, personally, I can answer this question in English and German because I did a research paper on this back in high school. Although the answer is technically both, consumers and companies are both responsible, the bulk of the responsibility relies on companies because they're the ones educating the consumer on their product, and we should be critical thinkers and be like, what are we putting in our bodies, what are we buying from these companies? However, once we learn those things, what options do we have, especially when there's a phenomenon of greenwashing? And greenwashing is when companies lie about the things that they do to protect and conserve the environment. Like, for example, I think about how, as a Black woman, it is very popular. Well, at one point in time, it was very popular for us to get relaxers. And, there's multiple layers to that. We were told our hair needed to be straight and presentable to the world. And, we could flat iron and press our hair. However, weather was not going to keep our hair pressed, even though I've learned Kamala's secret and I will be trying it soon to see if my hair can just lay flat for 2 weeks. And in that process of Black women trying to conform to a society that does not appreciate our natural hair, we invested a lot into getting relaxers. And relaxers, it's not just the money investment of a relaxer. There are actual adverse health effects related to the chemicals that are in our relaxers. And it's unfortunate that these companies know that. They know how dangerous they are. There are lawsuits. But if you go to any beauty supply store, there will definitely be a box of creamy crack there. Like, I haven't looked at one in a while, but I'm pretty sure like the warnings on them aren't, it probably wouldn't even equate to like, how cigarettes have that big warning on them and they jacked up the prices on cigarettes. Perm, they're not going to do that. They want to keep it cheap. They want to keep us like thinking that, it's safe. It's a safe thing to use, and it's not. And it's hurting us as Black women. And, now that we're aware of that, it's like, what do we do as consumers? Because for some of us, we have to keep our hair straight to keep our jobs, to keep our livelihoods. Even if some women have to keep their hair straight to keep their marriage and their relationships with their family members intact. That's an unfortunate and terrible thing, but it's a reality. And as consumers, we're backed into a corner where we have to keep consuming this product that is harmful to us. And I guess I sort of know how relaxers work. And, we did successfully somewhat change that industry because of the natural hair movement and also the wig movement. Like once people realize they can get wigs that look great, that you can't even tell that it's fake hair, it moved away from relaxer sales. But then the companies still think that they have the opportunity to sell us harmful items in the products that they give us. And that's not just for relaxers. It's also with, our food and the fillers that are in our food. The fact that we're so many things that are illegal to sell in Europe, but they're perfectly sellable here. The Supreme Court is doing away with some regulations that are going to protect consumers. So it's good that we educate and we hold ourselves accountable as a people to be like, this is what we're consuming. So we can raise the flag and maybe write to companies and tell them we're not doing this. You can also, just blow up their spot. The thing about, not like physically blow up their spot. Please don't do that. I'm not condoning domestic terrorism or international. I'm not condoning that. What I mean by blow up their spot is we have social media. We have this powerful tool. Social media, Google Maps. Google Maps has reviews. And those are ways that we can tell the company that we're not standing for this. Like, we do vote with our dollar. So what you can do is you can, not support this company if you have the ability to do that. Some things, it's harder, but and then you realize everything is owned by a parent company who owns like almost 80% of the brands. But the first thing you do, like I said, stop buying. Just stop. Or decrease your spending. Just decrease your consumption. Because what these companies are looking at is how do you spend your money and how can we get you to spend more of it. And if, they put all this money into ads, they keep sending you coupons, sending you emails, all these things, and you don't buy for months and months, it doesn't go. And maybe you might buy that thing once a year as needed, and you're just showing the company, I'm not going to buy 15 of your product anymore. I'm going to buy as needed. I'm going to buy one of it. Or I'm not going to buy it at all. That hurts their pockets and it makes them really reconsider. The second is just give feedback internally and externally when it comes to these companies. Like, I do like the fact that I get surveys sent to me. Usually when I look at survey results, I get mad because I'm like, nobody asked me how I felt about this candidate. Nobody asked me about this brand or that. But then I'm like, well, when you get the survey, fill it out. I don't do phone surveys though. Like, if you call me while I'm on my walk, my hot girl walk, and for 20 minutes you're asking me, do I like this candidate? Do I like that candidate? No, I'm going to be very upset. But if it's an email survey, it's online, ... I can do that. But I say that because that is your time to give feedback directly to a company. If you can do a review on their website as well when you buy a product and you're like, oh, well, this was cheap polyester, it didn't breathe, and upon my research, it's bad for the environment. Like, it might not seem that big of a deal, but the more you say how you feel, others are empowered to say that as well to that company in the reviews. And then, like, those keywords get picked up from the brand, and they can see, like, okay, people are saying the quality of this garment is cheap because it's a synthetic fiber, and they also have lost confidence in shopping with us because of our quality and our lack of commitment to the environment. Because nowadays companies are trying to have a sustainability and green part of their website, and if they don't have that, contact them. Like, send them an email and be like, what's your supply chain transparency policy? And you might not even get a response from your email because you're like, I'm just one person. But if you do that, you don't know how many other people have also said that to this company. And now they're guilted into saying what they do or if they don't do anything. And I think it's unfortunate that there are some very large brands, especially ones that celebrities will put their name behind or their names on and talk about how much they love this brand and it's theirs, but they don't have a commitment to sustainability. People were blown away that Fenty lingerie is pretty much worse than Shein in terms of their commitment to sustainability, environmental stewardship, and workers' rights. People are like, how can it be? Rihanna's in charge of it. That doesn't mean anything to billionaires. That is how they become billionaires, is by underpaying people, putting a celebrity's face on it, and then reaping the benefits of people not looking past the celebrity's face to see that this is cheap lingerie made in what they call, I'm trying to remember. When I was in school, we learned about them. They're called like panty towns in Vietnam, where it's like the town is pretty much dedicated just to making underwear because it's their booming industry and they can pay people $2 a day to do that. That's a lot of information. But when you hold brands accountable just by writing to them and then also using social media, like that's another one of those things where people learn a lot from what other people say. It might be false, it might be real, but one thing that social media should encourage is people to have discourse and critically think about the things that they see. When it comes to different brands and their supply chain transparency, some are easy to see. Like I think Patagonia is trying to do a good job of showing where does their fibers come from, who sews it, and how is it distributed. They can do that. That's great. But also, I don't think Patagonia greenwashes whatsoever. I just think that there's still a mass production aspect to the things that they do. I don't know the quantity of the things that they make, but I do know they have stores throughout the nation. They have to ship things out to those stores. I've shopped. Well, I haven't bought anything from Patagonia, but I've gone there for events and things, and it's still a full store. So it's like, what happens at the end of the season to these items? But those are questions that you should ask of yourself as a consumer. Is what am I going to do with these items that I buy, and how am I engaging with this brand to encourage what they're doing? People have responded well to what Patagonia does. They're often used for case studies. People are not knocking them down their door to work for them. So that's the feedback that they get, that they're on the right path. Other companies, they lean into the glitz and glamour to discourage you from thinking too hard about the supply chain and everything. And that is also why they give you all these emails and these coupons and have rock bottom prices. Me, personally, I try not to get overwhelmed. I think the hardest part of trying to live a conscious consumerist lifestyle is avoiding being overwhelmed by the impact of your consumption. And I've seen people on YouTube, they do like the no buy challenges, low buy. Now we have under consumption core that is starting to get very popular. I applaud all of those efforts, and unfortunately, being a supply chain major, I actually like looking at the restocking videos because my mind is just like, how do you buy all that stuff? How long does it last? Like the hows and the whys of overconsumption intrigue me. But I think the real solution is trying to secondhand and reuse as much as you can. I know some things you gotta buy new, like in terms of, I'm trying to think of something new that you would buy, because like I just like looked around my craft room, and like for example, I have a Cricut, and that Cricut was gifted me by someone who used it once or twice and then it gave it me, and Then I went on Cricut's website and they actually sell refurbished Cricuts. Like, my mind was blown that now that these companies are starting to have aftermarket and secondhand and refurbished items in their stores. So sometimes you don't have to buy new. Like, you can buy refurbished tablets and phones, and they work just as well, and they've had recent service. But then you have to buy new underwear. I think everybody has different opinions about it, but me personally, I would like to buy new underwear. Just new underwear and new swimsuits. But then it's the volume of new underwear and new swimsuits. There was a point in time in my life where I had 300 pairs of underwear. 300. How do I know that? Because I counted how much underwear I had. And where this comes from, and this is actually like a blog post I've been trying to make for like years now, but I want to tell this story about how I ended up with 300 pairs of underwear and what I did to sustainably get rid of them. When I was younger, I used to go to Victoria's Secret a lot, and it was like they had like the pink by Victoria's Secret. It was supposed to be cute or whatever, and they constantly had the 10 for 35 sale on underwear. They had it maybe like 3 or 4 times a year, and my mom was the one who told me to go, and because she had a credit card with Victoria's Secret and she would get points, so sometimes she would even give me 10 pairs just so she can get her points. And on the free item, like, there's so many bags I have that were the freebies that Victoria's Secret gave away. So it easily racked up. Also, I was told you can't donate underwear to Goodwill, so I kept most of the pairs that I outgrown. I also knew that I was just beginning to learn about textile waste, so I knew I couldn't throw them away, so I kept them. And then, I mean, of course I washed them, but after there's some times I'd wash them and I'm like, oh, well, this is raggedy, but I just kept them. And underwear, as you know, can ball up very small. You can fold it very small. I used to work for a clothing warehouse, so I was very good about folding my laundry very tiny. And I also was not the most organized person, and I'm still not. So if I had one drawer full of underwear, it would just be like, just go to the next drawer and just add more underwear. And then I moved, so I ended up having 2 wardrobes because I had my room at my parents' house and I had my college dorm and my subsequently apartments. So then I was starting to keep 2 underwear wardrobes. So when I was transitioning and moving back to Atlanta, I was like, well, I got to combine all my stuff back into my childhood room. And that's when I sat down and I counted. I counted 300 pairs of underwear. 300 pairs. Majority Victoria's Secret. And I am proud to say the last time that I shopped at Victoria's Secret was March 2020, right before the world ended. Or was it? I think it was like COVID was like something we faintly heard about at that time, and I went to Victoria's Secret and they had that sale and I got the underwear and I was like, this is great because the colors are bright, the colors are fun, and to get 10 new pairs every couple of months was fun to me. The newness, and the cheapness. 10 for 35, and I think due to inflation, it went down to 7 for 35. But it was fun. It was like, come to Victoria's Secret, get your points, and get new underwear. And like, up until that point, I never really just got underwear like one at a time. I was getting it in, bundles of 10 or 7, and then also they had underwear packs because you wouldn't want to mess up your nice underwear. You had to get the Walmart or whatever packs, so for when you're not trying to be cute. That's how I ended up 300. I came back home, and by then I was 22 or 22ish, and I had studied fast fashion, textile recycling. I'd studied these things. So now I was like, oh wait, there are brands that will accept your clean underwear to recycle. Nikki is one of those, Knickey. They used to have a program where they would give you $5. Yeah, I think the label is free and they give you $5 in credit. Or you paid $5 and it gave you like store credit for it. And whew, I was like I said, I'm a panty folding pro. I was able to recycle like 150 pairs in like three shipments, okay? And I was able to get my underwear down. And then also I had to like think, I was like, okay, not only do I know that this fast fashion is not good for the environment, I also learned that it's not good for my body as well. Even though when I was shopping at Victoria's Secret, I primarily bought cotton underwear. I also learned that, the dyes in the underwear are bad. And just because something is a natural fiber does not mean it was produced ethically and sustainably. Victoria's Secret has come a long way from trying to improve their brand. Like now they have recycled polyester and stuff in their fabrics and stuff. Like they actually care about their environment. Like once they broke away from L brands and became their own thing, Victoria's Secret has been very good about like environmental stewardship and being a corporate citizen, but not good enough because they still have the sale, and not everything is made from recycled fibers, and their beauty products are still made with harmful chemicals. So, but they're doing enough greenwashing to make any person who doesn't do enough research feel better about shopping with them. and no offense to anybody who does, or maybe yes offense. I don't know. I'll stop. So then I started doing more research about what I should do to get better about my impact. So I started, even though I had racked up all these points at Nikki, I had waited too long, and I think they changed the program, and I really didn't care. I was like, I just need a place to recycle. And then I started recycling with 4 days because they didn't just take underwear, socks, and bras. They also took everything, or so they say. I'm starting to get a little suspicious of them, and like I canceled my 3-month subscription because every 3 months I would get the take back bag and fill it up. But once I'm done with these bags, I'm just gonna look for other avenues to recycle. And that's a part of the journey, is keep educating yourself. Don't get comfortable with these solutions that brands are giving you. And I know it's frustrating. It's so frustrating. People get upset about recycling because they're like, it all goes to landfill. 30% goes. Yeah, that does happen in certain situations. But then we do better. Once we know better, we do better. If you realize that recycling door to door in your county is bad, but there are recycling nonprofits such as Live Thrive in Atlanta that has drive-through recycling and zero waste patrol where they will come to you and you can pay for the service, then you do better. You do better. And if it really, really bothers you, you consume less or find ways to reduce it. If you're like, I keep accumulating plastic bottles and it's just water, well, why aren't you getting that Brita filter? Like that case of, the equivalent of a case of water, when you can just get you a little stainless steel cup and get you a Brita filter. Like, I don't buy plastic bottled water. I don't, like, at all. Like, because I have my reusable bottle and I just take it with me everywhere. And I've been doing that probably like my whole adulthood at this point. And, that's one less trip to the recycling bin that I have to take because my recycling bin's not getting filled with plastic water bottles. And then things like, glass, and aluminum can be recycled over and over again. So then I'm like, okay, let me seek things out that are in glass bottles or aluminum cans. So I'm reducing my plastic footprint if I have to consume something that needs to be in a container that I can't keep. And like, speaking of knowing better and doing better, I like my boyfriend drinks a lot of soda, and he's drinking a lot in plastic bottles, and we had a miscommunication because I was recycling those plastic bottles, and I was taking a lot of trips to the recycling place, and I mentioned aluminum cans being more better for more renewable than plastic, and he was like, "But I was drinking from aluminum before," and I was like, "Yeah, I didn't tell you to stop. I didn't tell you to stop." And he was like, "Oh, I thought you did." So immediately, next grocery trip, he's going back. He's getting the aluminum cans. He's drinking from those, and we're recycling them. And I feel better about recycling them than all these plastic bottles, which were, they weren't getting contaminated. They were going to the drive-through place. But I'm like, okay, aluminum, can power things. This can become aluminum again. Like, we're on the right track. And it's as simple as that. There's a part of eco anxiety is not wanting to tell people that they're doing the wrong thing or that the thing that they can do, the thing that they're doing can be better. But sometimes when you just speak up and say, hey man, like, maybe you should use aluminum instead of plastic. Like, wear natural fibers instead of synthetic fibers. Rent instead of buy. Those little things make a huge impact, not only amongst yourself, amongst your communities. Companies pick up on that. That's why a lot of companies like Allbirds, I think Patagonia does it too, but then there's some major fast fashion brand that's starting to do it, where they're starting to have take back programs for their stuff so they can resell it. So they're giving you store credit for it. Which some people are like, why would they do that? It's good because they want to cut out the middleman. The middleman is Poshmark. The democratic process of individuals taking what they have and reselling it online is something that companies don't like. So they're trying to start their own aftermarket secondhand version of these enterprises so they can keep getting money from their products and just keep giving store credit so people can keep consuming their newer products. What a vicious cycle. What a vicious cycle. But we don't have to do that. You don't have to mail your stuff back to Nike just to get store credit to buy more of their stuff. You are free to use Poshmark to list your stuff and get it. And something I might go back to doing was I would list stuff on Poshmark that I was still wearing, but I knew that I wasn't going to probably not keep wearing it the next year. So I don't do that as often. I prefer to just go ahead and just donate my clothes or recycle them. But sometimes I'm like, I do like this. I'm just not in love with it as I was anymore. So let me just go ahead and list it on Poshmark. But you have options. Just always know that as a consumer, you have options and you have a voice, as well as being a voter. So use your dollars to tell these companies that you want them to do better, and use social media to call out these companies to be like, I noticed that you talked about this is a material made from recycled plastic, but you put it in shrink wrap. And is a shrink wrap biodegradable? No, it's not, because you didn't say it was. So let's step on these companies next. So yeah, that's my yappy hour for this week. Thank you for listening. I hope that you feel encouraged to do something more sustainable this week, whether that's not buying anything new or just using what you have. That's anytime people are like asking me what's the best thing that they can do, use what you have. Do not throw out all of your fast fashion and all of your environmentally harmful cleaning products just to start new. Like, don't do that. Use what you got and do better when you go back to the store. All right. Have a great week, everybody. Bye.